The rusty old truck rattled as it pulled into the divorce court parking lot on a bright summer morning. Its faded paint was peeling away, and the engine sounded like it had survived 100 battles. People turned their heads as it struggled into a parking space. Some stared with pity. Others smirked. Inside the truck sat a tired-looking single father named Grayson Hale. His worn denim shirt was neatly pressed despite its age, and his rough hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. The truck looked like it belonged to a man who had lost everything. Across the parking lot stood his ex-wife, Serena Vaughn, dressed in expensive designer clothes and sunglasses that sparkled under the daylight. The moment she saw the truck, a smile spread across her face. It was not a smile of happiness. It was a smile of victory. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, hard work, and second chances can change a person's life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps us bring more emotional and inspiring stories like this one. As Grayson stepped out of the truck, whispers filled the parking lot. He looked calm, but inside his chest a storm was raging. 5 years earlier, his life had looked completely different. Back then, Grayson owned a successful construction company. He and Serena lived in a beautiful home, drove luxury cars, and traveled whenever they wanted. From the outside, they seemed like the perfect family. But success often hides cracks that nobody notices. When business became difficult during an economic downturn, projects disappeared almost overnight. Contracts were cancelled. Debts piled up. Investors walked away. Grayson worked day and night trying to save the company. He skipped meals. He slept in his office. He exhausted every ounce of energy trying to protect his employees and his family. But while he fought to save everything, Serena slowly drifted away. She had fallen in love with the lifestyle, not the struggle. The more money disappeared, the colder she became. Eventually, she left. She filed for divorce and demanded nearly everything she could legally take. The house was sold. The luxury cars vanished. Most of Grayson's savings disappeared in legal fees and settlements. Friends who once filled their home stopped calling. Business partners disappeared. In less than a year, Grayson lost almost everything he had spent decades building. Almost everything. Because one thing remained. His 7-year-old son, Rowan. Rowan became the reason Grayson woke up every morning. The little boy had inherited his father's gentle heart and quiet strength. Even during the hardest days, Rowan never complained. When they moved into a tiny rental house, Rowan smiled and said it felt cozy. When Grayson could no longer afford expensive vacations, Rowan said fishing at the local lake was more fun anyway. When Grayson drove the old truck he bought for almost nothing, Rowan proudly called it their adventure truck. Those words kept Grayson going. Every evening after work, he helped Rowan with homework. Every weekend, they spent time together building small projects in the garage. Every night, Grayson promised himself that one day life would be better. What nobody knew was that after losing his construction company, Grayson quietly started over. He accepted small repair jobs. Then renovation projects. Then commercial contracts. He studied market trends late at night while Rowan slept. He learned new technologies. He invested carefully. He made mistakes. He failed. Then he got back up again. For years, nobody noticed what he was building. Not even Serena. She only saw the old truck. She only saw the worn clothes. She only saw what appeared on the surface. What she never saw was the determination hidden underneath. On the day of the final custody hearing, Serena felt completely confident. Her lawyers believed she would secure additional financial advantages. She expected Grayson to appear defeated. Instead, he arrived with quiet confidence. The hearing lasted several hours. Inside the courtroom, evidence was presented. Teachers testified. Neighbors shared observations. School records revealed something important. Throughout every difficult year, Grayson had been the parent consistently present for Rowan. He attended school events. He helped with assignments. He never missed doctor appointments. He sacrificed everything to provide stability. Even the judge seemed deeply moved by the evidence. By late afternoon, the court reached its decision. Primary custody would remain with Grayson. The ruling acknowledged his dedication and commitment as a father. For the first time in years, a weight lifted from his shoulders. But outside the courthouse, Serena remained convinced she had won in life. As people exited the building, she glanced once more at Grayson's old truck. A few nearby observers heard her laugh. To her, the truck represented failure. To her, it proved she had made the right decision years ago. Grayson didn't respond. He simply looked toward the horizon. Something unusual was happening in the distance. At first, it sounded like a faint rumble. Then the sound grew louder. People began looking up. Several heads turned toward the nearby private airport located just beyond the courthouse district. A sleek white private jet was descending from the sky. The aircraft glistened brilliantly in the afternoon sunlight. Its polished exterior reflected golden rays across the tarmac. Everyone watched as it landed smoothly. Curious whispers spread through the crowd. The jet taxied toward a private terminal nearby. A black luxury vehicle emerged from the airport gate and headed directly toward the courthouse parking area. Now people were openly staring. The vehicle stopped beside Grayson. A sharply dressed executive stepped out and approached him immediately. The man smiled and shook his hand respectfully. Suddenly, silence fell across the parking lot. Because what happened next changed everything. The executive handed Grayson a folder. Inside were finalized documents confirming the sale of Grayson's newest company. After years of rebuilding in secret, he had developed an innovative infrastructure technology business. Major international investors had recently acquired a controlling stake. The transaction was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The private jet had arrived to transport Grayson to a meeting with global partners. The old truck owner standing in front of everyone was now one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in the region. Gasps echoed around the parking lot. Faces that once showed pity now showed shock. Serena's smile disappeared instantly. The confidence she carried all day drained from her expression. For several moments, she simply stared. Not because of the money. Not because of the jet. But because she suddenly realized something painful. The man she had considered a failure had never stopped moving forward. While she focused on appearances, he focused on growth. While she chased comfort, he embraced hardship. While she measured success by possessions, he measured it by character. And character had quietly built an empire. Yet the most remarkable moment came next. The executive invited Grayson toward the waiting vehicle. Everyone expected him to leave immediately. Instead, he walked back to his truck. He opened the passenger door. Inside sat Rowan, who had been waiting patiently after school. The boy jumped out with a bright smile. Grayson knelt beside him. Together they looked toward the private jet. Rowan's eyes widened with amazement. Then Grayson did something nobody expected. He handed the keys of the old truck to Rowan. Not because the boy could drive, but because he wanted him to remember it forever. He told his son that this truck carried them through the hardest years of their lives. It carried them when they had almost nothing. It carried them through storms, setbacks, and uncertainty. It reminded them that success is not measured by where you start, but by how far you're willing to travel. Many people watching became emotional. Some wiped away tears. Even strangers could feel the significance of the moment. The old truck had become a symbol of resilience. A symbol of hope. A symbol of a father who refused to quit. As Grayson and Rowan prepared to leave, Serena remained frozen. For years she had believed wealth defined a person. Now she understood too late that true value had never been in Grayson's bank account. It had been in his heart. It had been in his determination. It had been in the way he loved and protected his son even when life was falling apart. The private jet, the business success, and the fortune were simply rewards that arrived later. The real victory happened years earlier when Grayson chose not to give up. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more powerful stories of hope, perseverance, and family. Special request: comment below with the words, "Never give up," if you believe the hardest seasons of life often prepare us for the greatest blessings. As the sun began setting over the city, Grayson and Rowan boarded the waiting jet together. The aircraft slowly moved across the runway. Moments later, it lifted into the bright evening sky. Far below, the old truck remained parked in the lot. To most people, it was just an aging vehicle. But to Grayson, it was proof that even when life strips away everything you own, nobody can take away your courage, your character, or your ability to start again. And sometimes, the people who laugh at your struggles today become the same people who watch in silence when your perseverance finally takes flight. That day was never really about a private jet. It was about a father who refused to surrender. A father who turned pain into purpose. A father who taught his son that success is not about what you drive, what you wear, or what others think of you. Success is standing back up every time life knocks you down. And because Grayson never stopped standing back up, both he and his son soared higher than anyone could have imagined.